And tonight, what I'll do is we'll kind of go over this very confusing law that just will take effect on July 1st. And the reason I say it's confusing because they were working on it about 5 days before the legislature ended. They were still drafting and trying to get it through. So it was a long, tedious process to get it through. So what I'll do is kind of just give you what the law is right now, explain what the concealed weapons permit with the basic and the enhanced, what some of the changes are, and then as we go into how it's going to actually affect every Idaho citizen and non-citizen, July 1st. So, Senate Bill 1389 was introduced as actually the third concealed weapons permit in the legislature, and it was drafted towards the end, the last few weeks of the session. And it passed, of course, both sides of the House, and also the governor signed it. And so what I want to talk about first is basic concealed weapons permit. It does not, first of all, it does not change the ability for Idaho residents and non-Idaho residents to apply for and get a concealed weapons permit. It does not change that at all. Right now, you can apply for the basic, and that's good. It has reciprocal agreements between 29 different states with the basic permit. And if you get the enhanced permit here in Idaho, there's a reciprocal agreement with 36 states. And the reason being is that to get your enhanced concealed weapons permit, you're required to go through an 8-hour class. That class is also has to be taught, part of that portion has to be taught by either a certified Idaho certified police officer or an Idaho certified attorney to teach part of that. And there's also the requirement, there's 98 rounds that have to be signed, that have to be shot during that training. And then once you get the enhanced, it allows you to carry both inside and outside the city limits and also on college campuses. And then it expands the regular concealed weapons from 29 to 36 states. And I can tell you, the Idaho legislature, the laws we have here allow the Attorney General to negotiate reciprocal agreements with all the other states. And he continues to do that. And if you look at you can do it two ways. Idaho State Police has a list of every state that we have those agreements, and I can leave this over at the back table, you can look at it. But this list is updated as those agreements are codified and finished. So you can either look at the Attorney General's website, and you can go to that, click on there, and find that, or the Idaho State Police. And if you need more information, we will also have that information in a more depth of information probably in about another week, because you are not the first group that have asked me about the new law and how it really affects all of us Idahoans. So you know that if you're 21 years or older over, no background check is required to buy a firearm if you have a concealed weapons permit. And that is one of the great advantages of getting an Idaho concealed weapons permit. If you don't, and you're from out of state, you have to wait 3 days, you have to go through that process, and there's also a record kept. The feds keep a record that you have purchased a weapon. And I'm leery of those lists that are kept by the federal government. So because of that, I think it's great. I can tell you that my staff are all getting concealed. I can't say all of them. A large majority of them are just getting the basic concealed weapons permit because they like buying weapons and they don't want to go through the hassle of doing that. Even as a police officer, if I'm not getting a weapon that I'm going to use on duty, I'm required to go through that test too, the background check. So that's one of the advantages. So the current law until July 1st, 2016, you can carry, if you're 21 years older, you can carry a concealed weapon outside the city limits, so anywhere in the county currently right now with no permit. And the problem was when House Bill 301, which is the current legislation that we're operating on, unfortunately, when that was drafted, there was a lot of problems. And what happened was there were loopholes in it, and currently until July, felons, illegal aliens, and mentally ill can carry bladed weapons right now without violating the law, which was a real problem for law enforcement. And those are going to be fixed in the new law. So it's right now, if you know, it's right now in Idaho, as part of our Constitution, if you are 18 years or older, you can carry an open carry firearm in the inside and outside of the city limits. And that is without any training or any permits. And what's so great, we are so blessed because Article 1 of Section 11 of our Idaho Constitution reads, and it's important that I read it, it's just really short. It's to keep, the right to keep and bear arms. The people have the right to keep and bear arms, which shall not be abridged, but this provision should not prevent the passage of laws to govern the carrying of weapons concealed on the person, nor prevent passage of legislation providing minimum sentences for crimes committed while in possession of a firearm, nor prevent the passage of legislation providing penalties for the possession of firearms by a convicted felon, nor prevent the passage of any legislation punishing the use of a firearm. This is what I really love. No law shall impose licensure, registration, or special taxation on ownership or possessions of firearms or ammunition. So the legislature cannot pass laws to create those requirements, nor shall any law permit the confiscations of firearms except those actually used in the commission of a felon. So please rest assured, if someone, another agency comes in and says, listen, Sheriff, you and your deputies have to confiscate those weapons, well, by Idaho law, I am prohibited and forbid to confiscate any weapons. And that's why I think this is just a great part of our Idaho State Constitution. So now we're getting into some of the confusing things. So as I said, currently you have to be 21 years old or older to have a concealed weapon and even to qualify for it. There are exceptions, and I think I've been an officer for 7.5 years. I've probably issued concealed weapons to maybe 5 or 6 men or women that were from the ages of 18 to 20. So now what the law says is that if you are 21 years of old or older, you are not required to have a concealed weapons permit in the state of Idaho, and you have the ability to carry inside and outside the city limits. But there are some restrictions. And those restrictions are, you have to be an Idaho resident. So if you have a residency in Florida, Arizona, and that's where your main residency is, and you have a driver's license, this law does not apply to you. It's only Idaho residents. If you are if you don't meet this criteria, you're forbid if you are not under indictment for a felony. So if charges have been filed against you for a felony, you can't have a concealed weapon. If you're not a convicted felon, you're not under indictment or convicted of a violent misdemeanor within the last 3 years. You have never have been adjudicated as mentally defected or committed to a mental institution, not a fugitive from justice, not an alien illegally in the United States, never discharged from the armed forces under dishonorable conditions. You have never renounced the United States citizenship, gone to another country and come back. You've never have received a withheld judgment for a felony or violent misdemeanor, and the applicant is 21 years age or older. So the last one is removed from the new one. what happens now, and I say it's confusing, the new law allows 18 to 20-year-olds to carry without any training outside of the city limits. If they want to have a concealed weapon permit and the ability to carry within the city limits, the new code says that you have to have passed and completed the enhanced training. So you're required to actually get a permit. And it's not permitless carry for those 18 to 20-year-olds if you want to carry within the city limits. So if you are between the ages of 18 and 20, you have to sign up, go to the class, come to the sheriff's office, apply for a permitless carry, not a permitless, but apply for a concealed weapons permit. You will go through the background check, get fingerprinted, and then the sheriff's office will issue you a special permit that you'll be able to carry inside the city limits. But then there's a caveat to that, why I said it's very confusing. You have to be, the way the current law says, if you carry on a college campus, that law has not been held back or changed. So if you want to carry concealed on a college campus, you have to be 21 years old or older and pass the enhanced concealed weapons permit training. And then also the law makes provision that once you turn 21, then you're required to come back to the sheriff's office and we will issue you a normal, just a regular enhanced concealed weapons permit. So is that confusing? And actually, why part of it's confusing is Idaho Department of Driver's License hasn't even figured out the software. We don't even have the software or the blanks to issue those different licenses. They're still working on it. So I'm hoping it's all done. And then, like I said, we, the law enforcement, I should say, the Sheriff's Association, were upset because when they passed the enhanced permit legislation 3 years ago, we wanted to be able to upgrade your just sort of basic license and just go through paperwork, show that you've shown that you've had the class. But what they've done is that even if you have your basic, you're still required for the enhanced to go back and get new fingerprints and go to the FBI and get another background check. So you have to have it twice for both your basic and your enhanced. So like I said, it's very confusing, and you may even walk out of here even after I explain it and scratch your head and go, oh wow. I think there's going to be cleanup legislation because there are some still issues that the sheriffs had with this, and we're trying to figure out how we can make